let's just talk about the idea of meditation and what that means. So your son listened to hip hop. You know who Dr. Dre is, dude?
Yeah.
You know Dr. Dre's line when he says, "I got my mind on money and money on my mind."
Yep.
That's meditation.
Yeah.
So whatever your mind is on, that's your meditation. So you have to understand is how we direct attention, and that determines everything. So we have this idea that meditation is just, navel gazing or whatever. But what I'm talking about, from the time you wake up and even in your sleep, whatever your thoughts are, that's what you're meditating on. And that becomes what your attention, what everything goes towards. And so we really need to expand that definition and recognize it's the thoughts we hold in mind that create our experience. So we have to know what we're thinking. So what's your mind on? Is your mind is on, I didn't make the shot, or, I didn't finish my homework. That's what your mind is on. So I got my mind on money, money on my mind. I got my mind on failure, failure on my mind. I got my mind on being feeling inadequate. I got inadequacy on my mind. I got my mind on I missed the last shot. I got missing the last shot on my mind. Or if you're playing hockey or whatever, or the mistake. I got my mistake on my mind, and that's your meditation. That's what you're creating. And so what we want to do is understand that we owe it to ourselves a couple of things. Number one, William James says volitional effort is the effort of attention. And that's a fancy way of saying that we have the ability to direct our awareness. And if we don't use that ability, so something pops up in mind, and we can either keep it in mind or we can let it go. So some things we need to keep in mind, we let go, and things we should let go, we keep in mind. So we have to understand, how do I do that? And so when you sit and you're being quiet and still, what's happening is, if you're right-handed, the left brain is linear and it's going all the time. It's like the words of the song. And the right brain, which is a melody, doesn't have get a word in edgewise. And so it's only by meditating or being still and directing our attention to one thing that this side of the brain kind of slows down and gets the other side access. And so we can get to that part. So as a way of being, we need to be able to change consciousness. We need to be able to use our whole brain and not be in fight, flight, and freeze all the time, but also be in rest and digest and being able to see the whole picture, and then allowing ourselves to perform or to do things from a wisdom base that we don't have access to, not to mention the stillness and the ease and the confidence that can come from being able to see things clearly and being able to, as we were talking before with Renew, how to slow down or pause so that we can make the proper choices. And so there's an addiction to being like all strong and being like in high frenetic energy, but it's without a purpose. And so we want to be able to channel that with purpose. Does that make sense? And so everybody needs to do it, but they don't think they do, because they categorize it as something, or when they try to meditate, they say, well, my mind's all over the place, I can't do this. No, that is it. That's what your mind is. And it's going to be like that until you train it not to be like that. And so a lot of people mistaken, I can't do it because I can't concentrate, or I can't, control my mind. It's like, that's the first step, is knowing your mind is out of control. And it's by seeing it's out of control, then you can start to notice that if you just be still and watch it in a certain way, it'll calm down, it'll slow down. And then you'll start to be able to hold certain things in mind. Like William James says, that, free will is deciding to hold love in my mind, even though it has a tendency not to stay there, but to make the conscious effort to keep it in mind longer, or love, or compassion, or yes, confidence, how to keep it in mind. And so that's something that we can train our minds to do, and understanding that how we direct attention is huge, and what we focus on. But we have to understand, like Dr. Dre said, if your mind's on money, you got money on your mind. Now, he said one other thing that I think is really maybe even more important. You know what that is? He said, my money's on me. My money's on me. You feel me?
Yep.
Okay, that's what we all need to understand. We got to put our money on us. there's a book that Eric Fromm wrote. He says it's called Man for Himself. It's like you have to be yourself, but you got to be for yourself as well. And so that's the lesson we need. We think that selfishness is this thing where no, you got to be for yourself and love yourself before you can love others and be for others. So it's an inside game. So there's a lot there in that book. There's a lot for you, but the question is, what do you want? And I would say, I hope you want to be yourself, whatever that means, and to examine your life so that you can see that when you are being yourself, you'll be more alive, and you'll be more you'll be performing at a high level, or you'll get closer to pure performance where you're just performing, not because you're afraid or not because you're greedy. You're performing because you're just expressing yourself for no reason other than the love of the game, the love of what you're doing.